and Skull and Bones is still there.
Yes.
And so there is a lot of that stuff. They're resisting letting go of the kind of covert power that they've had, those wealthy families. Okay, so the bottom line is that immediately after Gorbachev signed the release of all of the socialist republics and dissolved the Soviet Union voluntarily pursuant to that agreement, what happened is the Dick Cheney, who was the Secretary of Defense at that time under the Bush Senior administration, and Paul Wolfowitz, and Scooter Libby and Doug Fife,
all the neocons.
And the guys that were in the Defense Department under Dick Cheney gathered together and they prepared the 1992 United States Defense Department Policy Planning Guidance document. And in it, they actually proposed that they push back against the inclination to reduce the military budget now that the Soviet Union had voluntarily stepped back from the Cold War. And they said, we can't allow this to happen. We have to increase the military budget so that we can establish full spectrum military dominance over the planet. And that the purpose of that is to secure and maintain our continued privileged access to the strategic raw materials that are needed by the members of this new Northern Industrial Alliance that we're going to be forming. There's lots of details about that. A lot of people don't know about it, but they exist now. And that whole program that has been undertaken by Dick Cheney and his cohorts has been operational now for some time. And the problem is that once they mounted that under the W. Bush administration, in defiance of the previous agreements that have been made, what's happened is it's been quite clear that we have been engaged in an activity that is ever increasing the possibilities of nuclear confrontation with both China and with Russia. And so that you see a major increase in the activities of the UFO vehicles, intensely monitoring our nuclear capacities, the deployment of our nuclear forces, trying to determine, how aggressively we're going to be utilizing our nuclear weapons capacities.
Since 92?
Since 92. That's exactly right.
Because my other question was going to be to tie this back together, I guess, in a way, is these programs you're talking about with crash retrieval and, God, there was so much in there you said. I'm going to miss some of it. But, it's all, when we talk about it, we tend to talk about it from an American-centric view.
Yeah, right.
Right? But other countries, world powers especially, like China, like Russia, they have their own programs that look at this stuff.
Sure.
Is there evidence to show that there is some sort of intelligence sharing on that going on, or that has been going on over the past several decades?
Yeah, the answer to that is negative. It's not. That the adversarial attitude that has been adopted primarily by Cheney and the neocons from the W. Bush administration on down, and was then later endorsed by Obama and Hillary Clinton as the Secretary of State.
Birds of the same flock.
That they maintained that same kind of momentum once it was going. What's happened now is that's set up such antagonism with Russia and with China that there's very little cooperation that's going on in this area. And so the United States, the question that arises is what is it that's motivating this new movement that's been happening since 2017? What is it that's motivating Lou and Chris Mellon and Dave Grush and Carl Nell and the other folks that are coming forward and leaning in on drafting this particular bill? This is the bill that got passed by the United States Senate in 2023. This is the 64-page bill that has set up an entire regime to undertake a controlled disclosure of some significant portions of the information that are known about the UFO phenomenon.
Controlled disclosure?
Controlled disclosure. That's what this is. This is the UAP Controlled Disclosure Act. This is what they're planning to do. They have a 7-year period during which they want to reveal some portions of the information and conceal information that they think would constitute a catastrophic disclosure.
Okay.
That's what they're engaged in.
All right. Before we get ahead of ourselves on this, a couple things. Number one, another guy I'd like to get in here is Chris Mellon. I'd like to talk with him and judge him on his own merits. And I think sometimes, and I'm guilty of it too, we associate people and automatically make assumptions about who they are. That said, as a guy, I'm sitting across from you who is very well aware, as you've demonstrated, of, say, some of the Gilded Age families and so on down that's happened, where certain powerful factions tend to have their hands on the levers of everything that runs our government.
Yeah.
When you see a guy like Chris Mellon, who's literally a member of the Mellon family, and I forget, it was like his grandfather, I don't even remember, but
his great-grandfather.
Right, great-grandfather was...
The Mellon Bank.
Yes, but also was involved in the creation of the CIA, Warner, or something like that. Jesse Michaels knows that information, not me, so go listen to him on that.
Yeah.
But, isn't it interesting that he's the guy who's walking the papers out of the Pentagon and going to the New York Times with this? Is there a little bit of a tingle that goes off there? Why him of everybody?
Chris is an extraordinarily interesting guy. That's for sure, and I think he knows more about the deeper aspects of this program than most of the other people. I do believe that probably there is some correlation between his family background and him being able to be trusted with more of that information. If you go back into the period of Brown Brothers Harriman and the robber barons that the Mellons were part of, and the Rockefellers and the Carnegies and the Harriman family, that elite financial industrial set of families that actually formed Brown Brothers Harriman in a kind of a common investment operation where they choreographed things that we talked about the last time of actually choreographing the creation of the Third Reich and setting up the Third Reich and instigating the attempt to on the part of Germany to establish full dominion over Europe, for example, as the bulwark against Bolshevism. That those are extraordinarily real phenomena. It's quite clear that it's not Brown Brothers Harriman now that have continued that linkage, that the power that once resided in Brown Brothers Harriman when Allen Dulles was the legal counsel for them and George Herbert Walker was the CEO, or Prescott Bush then was the later CEO, that there was a lot more rigid control over that elite group. But the progeny of that are more spread out.
Yes.
But there's still a, I just got back from Yale earlier today, and it's embarrassing, walking around Yale looking at all the kind of preppy, well-washed, polished, aristocratic young kids that are there at Yale still. They're still there. And Skull and Bones is still there.
Yes.
And so there is a lot of that stuff. They're resisting letting go of the kind of covert power that they've had, those wealthy families. Chris Mellon is an extraordinarily sophisticated guy, very subtle guy, is extremely knowledgeable about what it is that's going on, and he would be among the more valuable interviews.
Yeah.
To actually have him being candid about what it is he knows, which he won't be. He won't be revealing as much information as some of the other people would.
Why is that?
Because he knows more than they know, and he's closer to the people that are the legacy group people. This is not a pejorative about him. This is, in a
No, I
certain sense,
understand.
a compliment.
It's factual.
That he is he's a more sophisticated person than a lot of the other people that are involved here. So that they're hammering down. I mean, Lou is a tough guy, as you know. I mean, Lou is the armadillo.
Yes.
He's the tough guy, here, and he's pushing forward on this. He's smart and articulate and a lot more sophisticated than the people in the 2506 Brigade that he hails from. But he is still and he will admit that he's more of a blunt instrument involved in this. You get other people like Carl Nell, for example. Colonel Carl Nell is kind of another step into the more sophisticated realm. I mean, he was in charge. He was a major person in the United States Army that was called in to kind of stand up entire units and companies inside the military to perform more effective missions. He was the one that was anticipated to be the original head of Arrow when they were talking about setting that up. So he's a very sophisticated person, extraordinarily intelligent, and is in a certain sense more subtle in many ways than Lou is. Lou will admit that. And Chris Mellon is more sophisticated than any of them.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.